Me too. I can't wait to see what my mum packed me.
Guys, I got ham and cheese.
I got egg and lettuce.
I got chicken.
Oh, it feels so good to be at the top of the food chain, doesn't it? What?
What's a food chain?
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Can you explain to us?
Sure, let's explore.
When we eat, we get energy. Energy comes from the sun and travels to the earth and into plants, to animals, to humans, and back to the earth. This cycle, called the food chain, connects all living things through energy transfer and shows the order in which living things depend on each other for food. So what kind of things use energy from the sun?
Energy from the sun travels to the earth and is used by plants like lettuce. Because lettuce is something that doesn't eat, it is classified as a producer. Producers are organisms that do not eat in the food chain. Instead, they use energy from the sun to make their own food with some help from water, air, and nutrients in the soil. Now, what eats lettuce?
Herbivores like grubs and insects like caterpillars, crickets, and snails eat lettuce and other plants to get their nutrients. These are the first living things in the food chain that eat anything, which makes them a primary consumer. Primary consumers cannot make their own food and only eat plants and algae.
Fun fact, there are some carnivorous plants like Venus flytraps that are classified as both producers and consumers because they use energy provided by the sun to make food and also eat insects. They have predators like raccoons, squirrels, and birds. What else eats primary consumers like grubs and insects?
There are many creatures and also other bugs and insects that eat primary consumers, including spiders, lizards, bats, and birds, like magpies, kookaburras, and chickens. Because these creatures can't make their own energy, they must consume primary consumers to survive. They are categorized as secondary consumers or carnivores. So, is there anything else that eats these animals?
There are a large number of organisms that eat secondary consumers, like chickens, foxes, dogs, snakes, and humans. As organisms that eat secondary consumers to get nutrients, we are classified as tertiary consumers. I bet you're asking yourself, is there anything higher on the food chain than humans? Technically speaking, there are a few predators that can consume humans, like lions and sharks, but realistically, they only eat lesser consumers in order to survive, and only eat humans to protect their own environment as another tertiary consumer. The only organisms that realistically eat us as tertiary consumers are what we call decomposers.
Decomposers recycle dead plants and animals. When plants and animals die, they become food for decomposers. Examples of decomposers are bacteria, mushrooms, maggots, and worms. The waste that decomposers produce from the organisms they eat are full of nutrients that help plants to grow, with the help of the energy from the sun. And so on and so forth. The cycle continues again, with the sun producing energy for the lettuce producing energy for the bugs consuming the lettuce, the chickens consuming the bugs, humans consuming the chickens, and then decomposers breaking down human remains as the energy is returned into the earth again.
But wait, we also eat lettuce. Where does that sit in the food chain?
Tertiary consumers like humans also eat producers like lettuce and other vegetables. Organisms that can gain nutrients from producers and other consumers are also called omnivores. When a consumer eats more than one type of food to gain nutrients, they make more connections with other organisms in the food chain. As these connections develop and expand, they create a food web. If we imagine a spider web that contains lots of lines and patterns, so does a food web. Some secondary consumers also eat producers, like how chickens eat producers like wheat, vegetables, as well as primary consumers like bugs.
Fun fact, there is no specific category system that separates consumers into different tiers. Different characteristics such as shape, size, mammal, reptile, or monotreme, warm or cold-blooded, and whether they have scales or fur also do not necessarily define an organism's role in the food chain. The only way to correctly categorize different organisms into their respective tiers is to explore what they eat.
What kinds of producers and consumers can you eat to your lunch?
I'm actually not that hungry anymore.